You start a new hobby, a new skill, a new identity, and for a few days, maybe a few weeks, you feel alive again. And then it happens. The excitement fades, the progress slows, you miss a day, then two, then you avoid it. And eventually you don't quit. Not officially, you just stop. And that hobby joins the graveyard, a guitar in the corner, a half-finished course, a language app you never open, a gym membership you might use later, a camera you swore you'd learn. And the weirdest part is this. You're not even sad about the hobby. You're tired. Because every new hobby comes with a promise that you will finally become the person you were trying to become. So when it dies, it doesn't just feel like you stopped doing something. It feels like you lost a version of yourself. Today we're going to talk about the hidden cost of starting over. We're going to dismantle the shame of the hobby graveyard. And we're going to build a strategy that turns your pattern into progress. Because for some of you, your problem is not that you can't start. Your problem is that you keep restarting. Let's name the pattern. Most people think the graveyard of hobbies is proof of a character flaw. They say you're inconsistent, unfocused, a quitter. But that label is lazy. The truth is more precise. What you're experiencing is something I'll call the restart loop. It has 3 phases. Phase 1 is the spark. New hobby, new obsession, new identity. Everything feels possible. Phase 2 is the plateau. Progress slows. You realize this is not magic. It's reps, it's boredom, it's awkwardness. Phase 3 is the escape. Instead of pushing through, you search for a new spark. Because starting over is emotionally cheaper than staying. And that last part matters. Starting feels productive. Starting feels clean. Starting gives you immediate reward. Staying feels messy. Staying forces you to face the reality that you are not special, that you are a beginner, that your early excitement is not the same thing as mastery. So your brain does what brains do. It tries to protect you. And it says, maybe this isn't the right hobby. Maybe I just haven't found my thing yet. Maybe I'm not built for this. And then you restart over and over. Now here's the hidden cost nobody talks about. When you keep starting over, you pay 3 taxes. The first is the identity tax. Every hobby comes with a fantasy self. I'm a guitarist. I'm a runner. I'm a designer. I'm a person who wakes up early. When you stop, you don't just lose the habit. You lose the fantasy. And losing identities repeatedly trains your brain to distrust your own promises. You start to feel like you can't rely on yourself. That is a brutal emotion. The second is the momentum tax. Every time you restart, you go back to zero. Not just in skill, but in rhythm, in environment, in confidence, in the tiny systems that make the hobby easy. You're not only losing progress, you're losing infrastructure. The third is the attention tax. Every unfinished hobby becomes an open loop in your mind. It whispers at you. You should get back to this. You wasted money. You wasted time. You could have been good by now. So your mind becomes a room filled with unfinished songs. And it's hard to be calm in a room like that. That is the real cost of the hobby graveyard, not the hobbies. The mental noise. So why does this happen? To understand the restart loop, we have to talk about learning environments. There are 2 types. A kind learning environment is stable. Rules are clear. Feedback is fast. The path is predictable. Think of simple games, basic routines, straightforward skills. A wicked learning environment is unstable. Rules shift. Feedback is delayed. Progress is hard to measure. Creative skills, fitness transformations, language fluency, building a business, anything where good is subjective or long-term. Most hobbies start in a kind environment. In the beginning, it's easy to see progress. You learn a chord, you run a little farther, you finish a lesson, you feel the dopamine, but then the hobby turns wicked. Now progress isn't obvious, the feedback is delayed, the improvements become subtle. And in a wicked environment, beginners interpret ambiguity as failure. They assume, if I can't see progress, I'm not progressing. And that's wrong, but it feels right, so your brain escapes. Not because you're weak, but because you're reading the environment incorrectly. Now, I want to introduce a simple model. Think of your life as having two forces: novelty and depth. Novelty feels good immediately. Depth feels good eventually. The restart loop happens when novelty becomes your primary emotional regulator. When you use newness to fix how you feel. Bad day, start something new. Bored, start something new. Insecure, start something new. And here's the trap. Novelty is a drug that looks like a solution because it gives you the feeling of forward motion without the discomfort of being bad at something. Depth is the opposite. Depth demands discomfort now, for power later. So your brain chooses novelty again and again and again. So how do we escape the graveyard? Not by forcing yourself to finally commit. That's too vague. And it usually turns into self-hatred. We escape with strategy. You need three things: a season, a definition of done, a hobby archive system. Let's go through them. First, choose a season. Most people fail because they treat hobbies like marriages. They think, if I pick this, I'm stuck forever, so they overthink. They hesitate. They keep switching. The solution is to lower the stakes. You are not choosing your identity forever. You are choosing a season. A season is a fixed time window: 8 weeks, 12 weeks, 16 weeks. Short enough to feel safe, long enough to build real traction. During the season, you do not ask, is this my passion? You ask, can I show up consistently long enough to learn what this actually is? Because the truth is, most hobbies reveal their real value after the honeymoon phase. Second, define done before you start. This is the biggest difference between dabbling and building. Most people start with a vague goal: get good, be consistent, learn the basics. That sounds nice, but it creates an endless tunnel. So when motivation dips, your brain says, this is pointless. There's no finish line. You need a concrete graduation, a checklist that means, I have earned the right to move on without guilt. Here are examples. For guitar, I can play 10 songs cleanly at a slow tempo. For fitness, I trained 24 times in 8 weeks. For design, I completed 3 projects with feedback. For a language, I can hold a 5-minute conversation on 5 topics. Notice what these have in common. They are measurable. They are realistic. They focus on reps and output, not perfection. This changes everything, because now you're not trapped. You're building a pillar, and when you reach done, you don't quit. You graduate. Third, build a hobby archive system. This is how you stop feeling like your past hobbies were wasted. Because here's the truth nobody told you. Even if you stop a hobby, it still gave you something. The problem is, you didn't capture it, so it dissolves, and then your brain says, see? That was pointless. You need a simple archive, one place where every hobby leaves behind a receipt. For each hobby you save. What I learned. What surprised me. What I can reuse later. My best artifact. That's it. This turns the hobby graveyard into a library. And when your brain sees a library instead of a cemetery, the shame disappears. Because now your curiosity isn't chaos. It's data. Now let's put it together. If you have a graveyard of hobbies, you are not broken. You are someone with high curiosity, and no system for finishing, you keep restarting because novelty is comforting and plateaus are confusing. So here's your new rule. Never judge a hobby during the plateau. Only judge it after the season ends. Because the plateau is not failure. It's the entrance to depth. And depth is where the hobby starts paying you back. Not just in skill, but in identity. Because every time you stay through a plateau, you teach your brain one thing. I can trust myself. That's the real reward. Not the hobby, the trust. So here's what I want you to do today. Pick one hobby you're currently circling, not 10. 1. Set a season, 12 weeks. Define done before you start. And create your archive page. And then just show up. Badly, boringly, imperfectly. Because the goal is not to stay excited. The goal is to stop starting over. And if you're listening to this thinking, okay, but I have so many interests and I'm scared to choose. That's normal. Remember, you are not choosing forever. You are choosing a season. You can be many things, just not all at once. In the next video, we'll talk about how to choose the right first pillar when everything feels like you. And to help you with this, I made a simple one-page guide, a season planner, and a definition of done template. So you can graduate hobbies instead of burying them. If you want it, check the link in the description. Thanks for watching. Pick your season, protect your depth, and I'll see you in the next one.